Hey, this is Dave coming at you from Southeast Michigan. I figured I'd do another video to show you what we got done here. We got the tub. We did all this work in about a week, and we're going to work for about one more week on the plumbing. And then we have another vacancy coming up. Speaking of vacancies, I said I was going to do an update video on that house that was trashed from a few videos back, but the way it's going, we haven't been able to get back to the house. It's all set, and the management company said that they have a prospective a tenant ready to move in, so we might not be able to get back there, but we have another vacancy, and maybe I just don't want to do the work of, you know, the showing the work of doing vacancies because it's kind of boring stuff. But anyways, so when we first started, we did the hangers of the 4-inch main sewer line down in the basement first. And then I framed this. This is the first time we ever framed for a tub. Let me get this out of the way. But I think I got it figured out. We have a big access panel here, and you can see it's a little bit weird because it's higher up than the tub itself. But they say they require like an 18 by 18, so I figured going wide's fine. And then let me see if I can get down in here. It's kind of a lot to frame these in, but it comes with a template. They said to cut it 2 inches smaller than the actual tub itself. Well, we should have cut it 1.5 inches smaller because we still had to do a little cuts to get, it's pretty tight. But you can see we left it about 1 inch higher. And the reason why you want to do that is this is eventually going to get some hardy backer board, and this will be tiled. So hardy backer plus the tile, give yourself 1 inch, and then that tub, you are not supposed to set that. It is not set on the lip. There's no pressure to be on the tub lip. So by the time we're all said and done, ideally you want about an 1/8 inch gap still, and then you just caulk that. But anyways, if you look in here, let me see if I can get down in here. We had to frame a knee wall, and then we did another sub wall in front of the main house wall to get it close to the wood. And then we put these in, and we actually cut a curve and got it in like that. And then we built this secondary wall here. So this right here, you have access to the motor and stuff, but now that I've done this, I thought the access panels were gonna be really important, but you know, these tubs, if something ever went wrong with all this leaking in the back, let me get up. It's easy to pull the tub. You know, you can just unhook the flex lines to the faucet and the drain line, and then you can just cut the caulk, and it'd probably be easier just to pull the tub out and work on it that way than to try to go in. So this access panel is only for if you had a problem with the pump itself or the heat pump. So anyways, we got this built in. We started Monday, today's Friday. We actually framed this in, just built it as if you'd almost do like a window. And this is higher, but the reason why we did it, we brought this up because we're going to be going with some like 5-inch base molding, and nothing looks worse than when you have an access panel and it cuts down into your base molding. So I want the base molding to go through. I don't know if the inspector is going to require me to actually cut this out in the drywall, but if so, at least it will be like a picture frame with door casing, and then you'll have your base molding going all the way through. That's a lot better than if you run it low and then you have to cut your base molding and then the frame of the door casing goes in there, and it never looks good because then you have the casing running all the way down, base molding stops into it, and then continues on. So that's why I did it this way. I don't think an inspector or anything is going to have a problem with that. I did want to touch back on a guy commented on my one video, and he said that these should really not be straight like short bend 90s. And I looked that up, and I'm going to change this. I bought 3. I have 3 of them. It won't be a big deal. You just cut it here, and since it'll be long, it'll still end up exactly where I want it. So I'm going to change these out. There's an exception in the 2015 Michigan Residential Code book that says, I believe you can put the short in here as long as there's a requirement with something with the trap arm, as long as you don't turn more than a 90 before your vent. But then I started thinking, like, what's the harm if this sticks out a little bit in the drywall? But you know, it's better for that to be a long sweep 90, the more I thought about that. So I'm going to change that. And so let's see here. And then right here, since venting is so important, from all the way from the tub here where the P-trap's going to be. The only closest wall that we had was way over here to vent it. That's a good 7 to 7.5 feet. So what I ended up doing is putting the vent in this wall, and I knew I was going to get the knee wall built, so I just brought the vent in so I could tie in closer. But anyways, we got that done. Real quick with this, we did the 2-inch pipe here for the shower. I just cut a bigger hole below that, and the standard hole that I found out from all the fittings they have for this is going to be a poured cement base, is a 4.5-inch hole, because then the bottom part of the flange of the shower fitting that you use for this fits exactly in the 4.5. So, and then we just cut another piece of plywood, screwed it down for the actual size of the hole of the pipe, just to stabilize it while we glued it. That's how we did that. So we have all of this tied in from the basement. Let me go down in the basement real quick and show what we did down there. Like this vent's all tied in, and we got, I believe we just ended up with, we got, just so reference when we're down there, we made it all the way to this one, to the laundry tub, and then we're gonna offset over, and then we're gonna just grab out of this pipe here that goes to the main, the wet bar here. Let me see here. Yeah, we're going to tie this one in starting Monday. We're going to work on the plumbing for 1 more week. I actually just talked to the tenant that's moving out of the other house, and she said she'll be out by the 1st, or I mean the 21st of this month. So the first thing we did when we came down here, I didn't like the 1/8 inch per foot. I got it too stuck in my head that 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch. It's all, you know, either 1/8 inch or 1/4. And then I realized, wait, it'd be better if this was more than a 1/4 inch slope. Or it's better if it's more than an 1/8 inch per foot slope. But a 1/4 inch would be too low, because then what happened with the 1/4 inch would be about 4 inches lower than this. And then you can tell that if we did that, it would actually be into the window. And I just didn't want to do that. So you can see we're right now about, if you get right up in there, we're about 3 inches above the window. So that'll be good. So at least the window, because this is such a long span that it's just such a long span. You got such a steep slope. So we basically started all the way up right to the joist. I guess we'll just start. It's trash down here, but we just finished work and it's Friday. I like to pick the stuff up the night of, but it's not going to happen today. So anyways, here's where the 4-inch main starts. So this goes all the way down, and then it's going to drop 90, and then when it goes out of the house, there'll be another clean out right here at the bottom going out of the cement. So we have a clean out. We don't have that in there because they didn't have them at Home Depot. They were sold out, but they did have the hub, so I glued the hub in. Then from here, we just downsized it to the 3-inch, because all this is picking up is a toilet, 2 vanities, and a tub, I believe. Or no, it's just actually a tub. Now this is interesting. Let's see. We went 3-inch here, and we came all the way to here. And now that I think of it, oh, that's why we did it. This is why we did it. Sorry about shining the light in your face. We have the toilet here in the guest bathroom, and the way I saw it is if you're having a toilet here, I'd rather have clean outs down below instead of popping a toilet if something ever got clogged. So I decided, let's just leave this 3-inch all the way through here. And then you can see what I did here is we just put a clean out of the 3-inch here. That catches the vent that comes in on that knee wall. So you can see that we're vented really close to the, and remember the code is whatever the P-trap size is, the pipe has to stay the same. So right here, this is kind of maybe a violation because you have to stay the same size of the trap arm to the vent, but that's just such a little amount distance there, it just makes sense to drop that in there. And the reason why the P-trap isn't in, that's the correct size for the P-trap to glue in. But to isolate for the water test to the tub, we're gonna rubber cap that. And then once the water pressure test is done, then this will get tested later when they come to do the final plumbing. So that's tying in the bathtub on this line, toilet. Over here, it's just 2 vanities. We left it 2 inches, but then we also have a clean out here. That way, if this pipe ever got clogged, we can snake that. If this ever got clogged, we could just snake the toilet actually all the way back from this one here. And that's why we did that. And even right here, here's the shower, 2 inch. And then I went ahead and just did another clean out there. Because it's such a long distance going this way. And then we pick up the vent right here for the shower, coming down in there. And then this one catches, Justin did this one all by himself too, pretty much. He just grabs the vent for the toilet. You barely see the vent in there, but there's the toilet with a clean out on the back. That's a slow sweep 90, which on toilets, they don't require that. That's one of the spots where you can actually use a tighter 90 from what I understand, but I had it. That fitting right there, that sweep T, long sweep T, is 18 bucks. I mean, unbelievable. It's, what the heck? So, and then the way that you run pipes, you want to put as many supports in ahead of time as you can. And the way that you find the slope, once you have the first support and you know that you're sloped the 1/4 inch per foot, we just measure like as if we were almost doing layout on a wall. You measure it and then you just, every 4 feet, you just put the strap up 1 inch higher, 1 inch higher, 1 inch higher. And then you have exactly, now that's if you have a new house that's perfectly level. If you have an old home that's got like maybe a sagging beam in the center, you really have to check for slope. We double check the slope, but we put our big blue level, it's perfectly level. The house, the frame of the house is perfectly level. And then what we did is as we go down this way, you just glue in your Y or your fitting that's gonna go this way. And then we just kept sliding the pipe and you just keep putting a pipe. That way you can dry fit a pipe into the fitting before you run out this way to make sure you're still going parallel with the wall, going this way. And then you just keep moving down. So you always wanna have a 4 inch pipe that's in front of you and just keep sliding it in and out as you go. So even these straps, they wiggle this way. You get a little bit of up and down because the straps have like an adjustment screw. So you want to make sure you're still keeping it straight. We've had to kind of kick it a little bit and move it a little bit to keep it going. Oh, and then this one here, it's kind of a weird, we had to run out a little bit because of just, we brought this one from that way first because it's such a long span. We wanted to make sure we had the proper fall. So let's follow this. This is the kitchen drain, 2 inch all the way. Same thing here. It's a little bit unorthodox, but we had to go this way. This is my mistake. I could have brought this on this side of the kitchen window for the sink, but I think we had to drill through 2 extra wall studs. So I just still put a clean out here where it goes this way, because if you didn't put a clean out here, I'm assuming it's a code. Sometimes on these, it said something like you need a clean out for any bend that's more than 135 degrees, which would basically be a 90 and a 45. But I think they have certain codes that are an exception if it's like a sink, something like that coming out like down into a basement. But better safe than sorry. So you've got the slow turn 2 inch from the wall coming into the wall, horizontal, and it drops down to a sanitary T, horizontal to vertical. You always want to drain horizontal to vertical with a T in a trap arm. And I'm going to explain that in a minute once I get back upstairs. But anyways, you're going 90 in and then a 90 down and then another 90 this way. So you're already into 390s. So I just thought that once you're in the 390s, geez, have a clean out. And then if anything ever got clogged downstream in this long 2 inch, at least you have this clean out here. We can clean out this part. So I'm gonna keep going. We're already at 14 minutes, probably be a little bit longer video, but we got a lot done this week. Oh, but anyways, what we did is we just randomly with the 1/8 inch per foot, I'm like, you know, I could go lower. I'd rather not be at the absolute minimum. So we just kind of just picked a spot, dropping it down, knowing that we're lower than 1/8 inch, but less than 1/4. And then we just ran the string where it seems comfortable above the window. So I don't even really know what this slope is. It's probably more like 3/16 per foot, but it's better than the minimum code. This one was interesting. This is where we ended up today finishing this. This was very, you know, intricate. We had to get 2 22.5 offsets. And the reason why we had to do that, we had to get this fitting as close to this joist as we can, because I wanted to be away from this dryer in the gas pipe. So we got to get it over. But then we realized, wait, we have to get it over even more, because in order to get up here, by the time we rolled the assembly like up this way, our 90 going into there, we would have had the fitting right up in there, and there'd be no way to glue that or cut it. So let me get a better hit on this. So we got it looking kind of like almost like we know what we're doing, I guess. And then that's going to continue as a 3-inch only because of a clean out. And then once we're going to come through here, we're going to have a 3-inch extending that way with just a plug for a clean out, and then a Y that Y's over and just picks up that bar sink, which is basically the hole that this cord's going through it now, the hose. And then right here, we're just going to have that 2-inch pipe come here with the long sweep 90, and then we're going to take that fitting off of the pipe and rubber cap this, because this is the one that's going to be going through the finished floor up into the cabinet, and this will not even be glued on until the finished stage of the house. So we're going to just put a rubber cap so at least this part of the pipe can be water tested, and it isolates from there. It's just easier to do water tests when you don't have a bunch of tubs and just things that you absolutely don't need, because basically the inspector, he wants to see the water filled to the highest fitting in your plumbing system. So that basically means you're filling to the roof. And they don't care about any plumbing that is still accessible after you insulation and drywall. So all the tubs except for the upstairs, that one will be tested with plugs in it and stuff. And they sell those kits, but I didn't want to get too involved with that without having to get involved. So that's it. So let me go explain one last thing, and I'll just cut this off. That from what I understand, it's things that are hard for me to find on YouTube is the stuff that I kind of want to cover. And one of them being the slow sweep 90 coming out of a wall. If you have my opinion on it, you should change them to slow sweep, even though in some areas, like I believe in Canada, they allow you, but I just don't see an advantage of not using a slow turn 90 coming out of a wall now that I think about it. But here's the one with the cord. Like, this is weird in the fact that I can't go down in the wall. I discussed that in a previous video. So this one we'll put the floor in, drill the hole saw up from the bottom. Once the pilot bit sticks through, then you come back at the top, drill it down. Then we'll have it right through the floor, perfect. And then we'll do the same thing with the cabinet hole, and then we'll bring this and glue this in when it's all ready to go. But let me explain the difference between like trap arms and drain lines, because there's a difference. And it's not too clear, but I've been reading the code and all this stuff. Right here, this is a trap arm, which is the pipe that goes from the trap to the vent. So here's the vent. This has to be a T. And some people say that, okay, so here's the thing. A lot of people say that the reason why you can't have this close to here, which is the 2 times rule, 1.5 pipe times 2 is 3 inches. Here's the trap weir. You have to be at least 3 inches away before you turn, or before you go into a P trap. That would be more if it's like a laundry room, because I think I mentioned it in the other video that would almost be impossible to screw up on something like this, because even if you put this, even if this was actually a street 90 here, and then you immediately went into a P-trap, you're still within the 3 inches. So it'd be really hard to make a mistake on that. If you came straight out, 3 inches is still not until the trap weir of the P-trap. So that's a trap arm. The code states that the P-trap itself can be 1 size bigger than the fixture it serves, but in no circumstance can the trap arm be a bigger size than the P-trap. So I hope that makes sense as far as P-traps and trap arms. But one of the reasons they were saying you can't put it close was because of getting the vent clogged with crud. Like that's not really the reason though. The main reason is because you have to have this horizontal distance far enough from the P-trap so when the water's coming in, the water travels a level enough plane to collapse itself to allow air from the vent to go behind it to create neutral pressure. So I'm not saying it's wrong when people say that, sorry, I just got a call. That it's wrong, like it could clog it with stuff that's being drained, but that might just be a secondary reason. But the main purpose of not having the P-trap too close to the vent, you know, as far as creating an S-trap, is for siphoning out the P-trap. Because the water it doesn't have a chance to break, like level down to allow air in. It just literally would go like this and like this. And the air would be pushed by the water to let the air come through the top part of the river, the water stream. So that's why they have that distance there. And real quick on that, this is where you can make a mistake. This is where most of those types of mistakes are made, is at the laundry, where they could possibly just put this in here really close. And even then, it's still, the minimum there is 4 inches. So you could see if we glued it in there, maybe that'd be 3.5. So as long as you were like at 4, you would be at the absolute minimum code. That is so when all this water's draining here, as it drains across here, the water drops and lets air through. That's a trap arm. But once you're in the drain, past the vent, then if you're going horizontal to vertical, you can use a Y here. A Y combo fitting, because now you're no longer worried about air, because it's already getting air from upstream on the vent, if that makes sense. Those are some stuff that I just didn't quite understand. One more quick thing as far as a 6-inch rule on the tubs and how vents have to be a certain distance before they go horizontal. A vent cannot go horizontal unless it's 6 inch above the flood rim of the sink. And all that means is if this sink if it gets to the top and it's overflowing, but then this pipe was vented below where the water could flood over, this horizontal vent pipe could potentially get filled with crud. And then once the plumber snakes the line and the water drains, some of the crud could stay up in this horizontal line forever. Like it would never be able to get snaked. There's no way to access that through a clean out. So they want you to be a minimum of 6 inches higher. So then if you did have a clogged sink, the water would just flow over onto your floor, which wouldn't be good. But then this pipe would still be dry. The horizontal part would still be dry. So if this clogged and this sink was, I went way over the 6 inches just because why not? I have the whole 9 feet. I honestly just put it right here because this is right in front of my face and it's easy to work, you know. But that's the floodplain rule, the 6 inches. So don't get too confused on that. I didn't understand that at first, but it makes sense once you know the why. And I think that's about all we did. We're at about, 24 minutes. So I'll just cut it right there, and then we're just going to work on plumbing and just keep working downstream. And the biggest thing with this plumbing stuff is just don't forget to tie something in. So we're just carefully working down this way, slowly but surely, and just making sure that we're picking up everything that we want to have a drain for. But anyways, this is Dave signing off.